Hi everyone, my name is Ileshka Early. I'm the project coordinator at Jordan and Brooke K-12 Tutors. We focus on providing both academic tutoring and social emotional learning because we believe in order for any student and any child to thrive academically, they need to thrive emotionally first. On today's Mental Wellness podcast, we have Teazel Kawome from Melbourne. Teazel is the founder of From the Heart Counselling and is extremely experienced in the arena of mental health with over 15 years of professional expertise. She focuses on providing client-based, compassionate, and strength-based approaches in her counseling sessions. She definitely must be having a lot of experience dealing with K-12 students, their parents, and educators as well, because she has facilitated individual and group support sessions for clients across various lifespans, from adolescents to adulthood to even older adults. She has conducted and led support groups for a variety of mental health problems and conducted assessments, provided crisis interventions for hospitals and communities in a mental health setting. She is also extremely passionate about equipping individuals with coping mechanisms, along with education and management of mental health concerns. So, Teaser, to get started into our first question, what are some significant mental health problems you have noticed students face on a daily basis throughout your career? And how can social emotional learning contribute to impacting students in a positive way?
That is a very good question. Thank you for having me. First of all, I'm so glad to be here. The main thing that I have noticed, and it's across the board, anxiety is a very big factor that a lot of students go through, and it's right from 5 to 25. So there's really no age. It's not based on age, it's just how it shows up. I would say that is the biggest one and the most common one that I come across. I have seen across practices, there is depression, there is emotional stuff, but the biggest one I'll definitely say is anxiety and stress, and it's getting even from a younger and younger age.
Yeah, definitely. I think something that I have experienced also is a lot of anxiety. Experienced in the sense, a lot of people that I know, a lot of youth that I know personally, they are constantly anxious, especially when it's a high pressure environment. So in terms of students, if we take students in this case, when it comes closer to their exams, the pressure they get from their parents, the pressure they get from their friends, even when it's going to a social event, because they feel like they need to be accepted. So yes, definitely I agree with you there. I think anxiety and depression is the new pandemic in that case. So yes, I definitely agree with you there. And now going into our next question. Many children are struggling with negative self-perceptions. How do you think educators can help teens through a challenging phase in their life where they're having negative thoughts and they're struggling? And how do you think SEL could impact them?
I think it's very important for educators and adults in general to have some perspective of what the children in today's culture are really facing. They have the world at their fingertips. You've got Facebook. I might even miss some other social media. There's Snapchat, there's Instagram. There's probably more that I don't even know that's out there. And that is constantly in their face. So it's not. When I grew up, we had TV after school from 3 till 5, those 2 hours. And there were some days that I didn't even watch TV because my brother was watching an action show and there wasn't another option because there was just that one station. But today we have so much available to us and so many other voices available to us that our children are facing a lot more information at a faster pace. And we know that at schools now they're getting their computers at a younger and younger age. Some schools are even starting at year 3. So not only are our children having to navigate this fast pace, but it's also a lot in their faces and it's also a lot of voices in their faces. So what comes with that is a lot of opinion. Everyone has an opinion. Everyone has some idea of how you should live, how you should look, what you should wear. This is trendy, this is not trendy. So apart from just learning your basic ABCD, your chemistry H2O, you're also having to have an awareness of how you look, how you talk, how you interact. Is it okay if you don't have the latest Jordans, if you don't have this? There's a lot more pressure that it's not just the focus on their day-to-day. And whereas at home you could shut it off after a day of school, it continues. They have online access now, so there's the bullying going on there. There's so much that happens that the children are exposed to, that we aren't only the voice that they have, unfortunately. So along with that will definitely come some other factors that they have to handle. And also, so my thing that I talk to with a lot of parents and a lot of educators is perspective. Let's try to get into the children's shoes, because we're not going to reach them if we try and just preach at them. We have to try to understand the world they're living in, and from that perspective then we can hopefully be at a level where we can support them to first of all understand it. Because not only as they get older, they're faced with the natural hormones of puberty and growing up, but you also have these pressures to deal with, and it's hard if you don't understand it, and you also feel like you're fighting the school, you're fighting the parents, you're fighting the system around you. So I really encourage education for the parents and the educators first of all, so that from that point of view they can then understand how to better manage or reach the children.
Yes, definitely. And what you said about social media, I think that's a major cause of concern, because I think the demographic that's coming onto social media in the current generation is just getting younger and younger and younger. And the influence they get there, because they're too young to understand certain concepts, to understand what they're being exposed to. And when those things, those stigmas surround them, and when they start finding out who they are, they're heavily influenced by social media, and they don't even know who they are anymore. And that can affect their mental health.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
I think I was talking to another student the other day, and I was like, oh, I'm so grateful they didn't have camera phones back when I was younger. Because that's another form, there's all this evidence out there of the mistake that you made yesterday that's publicized in 3 seconds across the world, getting all these hits. And not only are they facing their attacks face to face, they're facing them online because of the access to this technology that we have, which is a good thing, but we just need obviously to learn how to manage it well.
Yes. And now coming into our final question to you, how important are the roles of parents and educators in creating a strong support systems? Because I don't think parents truly understand how important their role is when it comes to their child's mental health. And what tips would you offer them to foster that healthy environment to help their children?
I think it's important that when, as carers, remember that when you send your child off to school now, they're now under that care, and it's not necessarily a competition, but how can we integrate, how can we come together, because we want the best for the child at the end of the day. So I really encourage communication as much as possible. Let the educators know what is going on at home. There's so much more space now to talk to them. It could be a message, it could be a phone call. But that collaborative approach, knowing that we all want the best for the child. So definitely not so much competing, but coming together in that environment where we can communicate well, where we can also know what's going on both ends. So the educators are aware what's going on at home, and the carers are aware what's going on at school, and vice versa. I also think strategies of openness are important. I know we try sometimes as carers to to be like, oh, when I was a kid, I was ABC. But I find, especially as the children get older, to be open with them about your mistakes, about conversations that might be difficult to have, especially when it comes to mental health. Unfortunately, there's still a lot of stigma around in 2024 regarding mental health, but that openness of discussing with your child, and I think the sooner the better. You notice something different about them, coming to them and having that conversation, or having someone that you can trust with your child that can have that space to talk to. And again, with social media and the internet, I do encourage some limits and boundaries around that to protect them, so that it's not just that the voice they're only listening to. I really encourage activities outside of school and outside of home where they can develop real friendships, contact face to face, where it's just not on a screen, and where it also helps, because we know things like exercise, fresh air, those walking, those things are so good for your mental health. Dinners together as a family, if possible, those kind of things, to have that open dialogue with our children and have that space as carers to talk is so important. So creating that in the home, and for educators to also have that space where they really notice, because a lot of the time with our children, it's not what they're saying, it's what they're not saying. So to always have that eye out, that ear out, to see, what are you not saying? You're saying this, but what else is they noticing their behavior? And seeing what, a lot of the time when people do start to have some aspects of mental health, the first thing they start to do is withdraw or lose interest in their hobbies. So picking up on those kind of things is a good one to start off with, because you can notice that they start disinterest in something that was so interesting to them before. So having that in place to see and to notice would be a really good way to help manage it.
Yes, and I think what stood out to me from what you said is hearing what they're not saying. I think that's so easy for parents and educators to miss, because what they think is, okay, the child is fine, they're just being a bit quiet, or now they just don't like what they used to like before, they're growing, it's, hormones and all of that. But it could be something much deeper that they're not sharing. So
that's right. Yeah.
What you shared there, I think, was extremely important. And have there been any cases where the parents did not understand what the child is going through, and how were you able to help that parent come to that understanding?
I think with one situation that does come into mind is when a child was the grades started to fall, and they were like a high achieving child, and they noticed that, not too bad, but just noticing, and the child would go in her room and she would close the door, and they, after school, and just wouldn't want to interact. Spoke to the parents as anything happened, did you understand? And the parents were like, oh no, like you said, she's just 15, it's that age with the hormones, I went through that when I was 15, the mom would say, and all the older sister went through that phase. Only to say, have you spoken to? And they're like, no, we're just gonna let it play out, because this has happened before with the older sister. We know it's a pattern, she's gonna be fine. And unfortunately, that wasn't the case. This young girl had just had one of the students in the class had unfortunately passed away, and because she wasn't as close to the students, people assumed she would be okay. Like, it's just, the close friends were the ones that were being monitored and cared for more. But that's not the case sometimes with grief and death. It can affect. It's someone she knew, it's someone in the class. And after spending time with her and just speaking about it, she just started to open up and say it actually really affected her. She's thinking, is there something she could have said? She has spent more time with her. what's going to happen with her future now. And she's now spiraling with those thoughts, anxiety and withdrawal. She doesn't want to be close to anybody anymore in case it happens to her. You know, it's increased anxiety, and now it's also forming into an eating disorder now because she can't control that aspect, so she's going to control her food. So I think after eventually it took a while for the parents to come to terms with that, to understand that this had been the actual trigger for the daughter, and just speaking it out was what she actually needed, some space of her emotions to be let out. So that was another learning factor for all of us. It's not just the ones who were close who were affected.
Yes, and that's so true, because parents can just have a misconception about the entire situation when the child just needs that support to be able to speak out, to be able to say what they need to. So
yeah,
thank you for everything you shared today, and for the work that you're doing and impacting so many people for the last 15 years or even more than that. And I believe every parent and educator, even any student that's tuning in today, is definitely impacted by this, because everything you shared was so relevant in understanding the importance of mental health and maintaining mental health for students, and how SEL could potentially help make that change in a child's life. And if there's anyone that's watching that is looking for counseling and needs help with their mental health, I have linked down below From the Heart Counselling. So you can book an appointment with Teazel and get the help you need. Thank you again, Teazel, for joining us today.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you.